We begin in Katsina, where armed bandits have reportedly attacked several communities in coordinated night raids, abducting many people. Witnesses said the attacks happened on Monday night with heavily armed bandits operating for hours and causing widespread damage. Several sources said the attackers first struck Angwan Alhaji Barao, then moved to Gidan Dan Maigizo and Gidan Hazo, all in Naalma ward of Malumfashi local government area of Katsina State. The attacks come after the Katsina mosque attack of August 19, 2025. However, the Katsina police spokesperson Abubakar Sadiq said he is not aware of the latest incident. In the meantime, the African Union has extended the mandate of the Multinational Joint Task Force fighting Boko Haram in the Lake Chad Basin for another year. A decision was adopted at the AU Peace and Security Council's 1318th meeting on December 15, 2025. According to the AU, the renewed mandate will run from February 1st, 2026 to January 31st, 2027. The force comprises troops from Nigeria, Cameroon, Chad, and Benin, with Niger no longer a member. The Council praised progress against terrorism but condemned continued attacks and honored fallen soldiers. It also highlighted funding and equipment gaps, urging member states and partners to provide support. And troops of Operation Enduring Peace have successfully rescued retired Colonel Ajanaku following his abduction in Bassa local government area of Plateau State. The retired officer was kidnapped in the early hours of January 5th, 2026 from his residence along the Rukuba Road. After receiving a distress call, soldiers from Sector 1 and 3 of the operation quickly mobilized and tracked the kidnappers through the wildlife park. The abductors later demanded a ransom of 200 million naira and threatened to kill the officer if pursuit continued. Through a tactical shift to covert operations, the troops located and rescued Colonel Ajanaku at the Rafiki axis of Bassa local government area at about 5:30 p.m. He was recovered without any ransom and is currently undergoing medical checks. Reports, however, have it that he is in stable condition. In the same vein, troops of the 6th Brigade of the Nigerian Army under Sector 3 of the Operation Whirlstroke have stopped a kidnapping attempt and rescued 3 people in Taraba State. According to a statement by the Army spokesperson Omar Mohammed, the operation took place on January 5th, 2026, after troops in Jeb town received credible intelligence on suspected kidnappers in Sangai village, Batama ward of Karim Lamido local government area. The Army said the rescued victims are Nimrod Umar Ab, 25, Safaraz Ibrahim, 20, and Habila Yunusa, 23. The commander of 6th Brigade, Brigadier Kingsley Uwa, praised the troops and reaffirmed the brigade's commitment to sustained operations across the state. The victims are currently in military custody receiving care and documentation, after which they will be reunited with their families. And on to politics, prominent activist Aisha Yesufu has officially registered to become a card-carrying member of the African Democratic Congress. Yesufu says her decision is tied to her support for former Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi as political alignments begin to take shape ahead of the 2027 general election. She also urged young Nigerians to participate actively in politics. Yesufu added that she is willing to work with others, provided their values and objectives align. Meanwhile, the defection of the 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, to the African Democratic Congress has been described as a statement of conscience and not just a political movement. The national chairman of the Coalition for the Protection of Democracy, Rang Pam, told journalists in Jos, the Plateau State capital, that the acceptance of Peter Obi into the African Democratic Congress is a sign of great conviction and optimism.
Mr. Peter Obi's entrance into the ADC is not merely a political movement. It is a statement of conscience. It is a declaration that Nigeria can no longer afford politics without principles, leadership without sacrifice, or governance without compassion. His long-standing reputation for prudence, transparency, fiscal responsibility resonates deeply with the aspirations of millions of Nigerians who yearn for a nation that works for all and not just a privileged few. For COPDEM, this moment represents the convergence of values. We are a coalition committed to the defense of democracy, the rule of law, social justice, zero tolerance for corruption, and the protection of the people's mandate.
I'm now being joined virtually by Chief Dele Momodu, politician and chairman Ovation Media Group. Thank you for joining us, Chief Momodu.
Good evening from Accra, Ghana. Thank you so much.
And Happy New Year to you and your family.
Happy New Year. Happy Chiapa,
well, let's
say in Ghana.
That's good to know. Well, let's hope that this year will stay happy all through. But starting out here, is that movement, let me ask you first, where are you? Are you also moving to another party? Which party are you moving to?
Oh, I'm part and parcel of APC. ADC, not APC. I've never been a member of APC. Even when I supported Buhari, I'm joining ADC. I'm picking my card by the grace of God on 15th of January this year. And the whole world will hear about it.
Okay, but this movement, I mean, Peter Obi has moved. Yes, the Constitution allows for freedom of movement and association, as the case may be, but we've also seen in Nigeria in the last few weeks, and someone says weeks, you should be saying months. I say weeks because it's just 52 weeks in a year. We've seen in the last few weeks a lot of movements across party lines to one party or the other. What is this saying of is it because of what the Constitution says, or just the search for something better?
Well, of course, mankind is always in search of something better. And in this case, we have no choice because the ruling party, APC, has blocked all avenues against opposition. So when you are pushed to the wall, you either crack the wall or you turn back and kick the man who has blocked. So what is going on is that many stakeholders in Nigeria, because we're all Nigerians anyway, have decided that we cannot allow President Tinubu to get away with a one-party dictatorship. And that is why ATC has become attractive to a lot of us. And I'm sure many people are still going to come from the direction of APC, from the direction of PDP, from Labour, from NNPP, and so on and so forth.
You know, you said something earlier, which I want us to go back and look at. You said the ruling party has blocked the room for opposition, but then you find out that people are leaving the opposition and coming into the ruling party. How is that?
Yeah,
blocking?
that is part of the blockage, because they're either being cajoled, being coerced, or being corrupted. So there's no question about that. Every Nigerian and all friends of Nigeria globally are embarrassed that a man who came to prominence by fighting against dictatorship, military dictatorship, gets power, and those of us who were part of it and now in opposition are not being allowed to perform the way we should in a democracy. So that is why I said people are being cajoled. A lot of people live under fear today. Even governors, they live under fear. Speak to any governor in Nigeria, they will tell you, look, let me just go and join them.
But Chief Momodu, what is that fear? What is the fear? What are they afraid of? If they are indeed having been elected by the people, if they are serving their people, what should they be afraid of?
Everything. The ruling government can cook up anything against anyone. And they will tell you, yes, there's a justification. Of course, there are no saints in the world. And for as long as there are no saints, there will always be one thing or the other. So they can cook up against the governors, the former minister, the former whatever. And what I remember is that once upon a time, when President Tinubu was governor of Lagos State, some of us supported him very, very violently when he was being aroused by the by the government of President Olusegun Obasanjo. We supported him. They took him to the Code of Conduct Tribunal. We supported him because we knew it was a witch hunt, not because we felt, oh, maybe he was a saint. Wherever there is a witch hunt, we must resist that oppression. If tomorrow comes and Tinubu and his family are being oppressed by any subsequent government, I will be one of those who will rise up to fight against such oppression.
But let's look at the party you say you're moving to, the ADC. We know that there are a lot of there are people who are not happy for this mass movement, and they've gone to court. Multiple cases in court against the leadership or the new leadership of the ADC. And then we are hearing that another faction led by Comrade Nnah or thereabout, they've just inaugurated their own, what do you call it now, convention committees across the nation. Is ADC stable to handle all the weight that is coming in?
ADC is duly recognized today by party members, by non-party members, by INEC, and so on. So naturally, of course, some busybodies will try to work in favor of the ruling government. What they have done is to position their people in strategic places to block opposition because they want just one candidate for the 2027 presidential election. And that candidate they want is Tinubu. They are so scared because they know the numbers will not add up, the figures won't add up. They know it for a fact. So that is why wherever you find crisis in any party, look at Obi. Imagine a man who came third officially in the last presidential election of 2023. Suddenly, he had no party again in Labour. If Labour was a serious political party that has not been infiltrated by the power, what we call the federal mind, would Obi be out of Labour today? Would Labour not try to protect their golden boy, if I can put it in inverted commas? Would any reasonable country not protect such a child, but not in Nigeria? So they have infiltrated everywhere, and they will continue till they will get out of power. And that is why people are more determined now to make sure they get out of power. Because another 4 years of APC, Nigeria will become a one-man dictatorship, not even party. There will be only one man. And that man will be attended to as the mafia don of Nigeria.
Okay, Chief Mahmoud,
it's no longer a democracy.
Chief Mahmoud, we'll take a moment and we'll come back to look at this matter, whether we're still a democracy or not, but also the reasons, what is going on in the ADC. I'll mention a couple of names and let's see if we can clarify what exactly is happening, even though you say you're coming to that party. We'll be back in a moment. Just stay with us. Welcome back. In case you're just joining us, here's a recap of our top stories today. Several kidnapped as bandits raid communities in Katsina. African Union extends Multinational Task Force mandate across Nigeria and Cameroon. And U.S. eyes Arctic defense, rare earth minerals, and emerging trade routes. We still have Chief Dele Momodu, a politician and chairman of Asian Media Group, here with us. Chief Momodu, before we went on that break, we were talking about what is going on. You alleged that the various opposition parties have been blocked and or invaded by the ruling party so that they are unable to do anything. But let's go back to the party you say you're moving to by the 15th of January. That's the African Democratic Congress. And then one of a member of the party, whom I'm sure you have heard about, Nnah Gombe, today addressed a press conference and that they are setting up a, what do you call it now, for its 2077 congresses across the country. What does that say of the ADC?
That is the strategy. No, there is no problem with ADC. It's free to go anywhere. It's free to go to port. So I have no problem with that. There is freedom of movement and association. You remember that even the best election we ever had in Nigeria, that of June 12, 1993, in which Chief Moshood Abiola emerged winner, some people attempted to stop it even by midnight before the election. It's nothing new in Nigeria. You will always find people who don't have any scruples about destroying what is good. This ruling party, APC, came into being via a coalition of different political parties. Today, the same party does not want to allow coalitions to occur. But nobody knows tomorrow. No man is a god unto himself or unto mankind. So we will continue to watch their shenanigans, and I know it never ends well. Anybody who has studied the history of Nigeria, we know that the reason why Nigeria where it is today is the selfishness of some prominent members of the political class. I see nothing wrong if President Tinubu contests in 2027 and he wins the election fair and square. I have no problem with it. But for him to block others, it's like you want to play football and then you put a goalkeeper by the goalpost, you tie his hands, you tie his legs, and then you say you are playing football. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's a shame. It's a shame. It's a shame. And I hope that God will enter their hearts before it is too late, that you cannot destroy a country that has produced some of the greatest human beings on earth and destroy it because of personal ambition.
You know, Chief Mahmoud, before we let you go, there is a regulator for the political space in Nigeria, INEC. Would you say that INEC is handicapped to quash any attempts to block the opposition? Because INEC is supposed to ensure that there's a level playing field before, during, and after elections. The political space is supposed to be free and fair, regulated by INEC. But is INEC being crippled in any way?
You know, we had one of the most useless INEC operations in the last election. I'm praying for Professor Amupiton, a distinguished senior advocate of Nigeria. I'm praying for him. It's up to him. All the INEC chairmen who failed in the past, they failed because they were ready to mortgage their own future and that of their children and grandchildren just because of one ambitious leader. And then thereafter, they fizzle out and go into oblivion. So it is up to such a distinguished scholar, a senior advocate of Nigeria, to decide whether he wants to do what is fair or he wants to do what will not ultimately augur well for our country. I know that if we end up with Tinubu as the sole candidate in 2027, it will not augur well for Nigeria.
Chimamanda, I'm sorry, but I just have one more question to ask you. I'm taking you back to ADC right now. Yes, the regulator is there, but in the ADC right now, you are coming in. But we've had some very big names joining the APC. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, former Rivers State Governor Amechi, and many other plethora of big names joining the ADC. Some will say looking for green pastures, or so to speak. But what would guarantee a rancor-free emergence of a flag bearer for the ADC, seeing that almost all the people in that space have at one time or the other sought for the #1 ticket and may still be seeking for it?
Every Democrat will work for a rancor-free primary, if there is a primary or if there is consensus. But I don't think any individual, not Atiku, not Peter Obi, not Rotimi Amechi, none of them will be able to force a ticket for himself. Not Atiku. Anybody who knows Atiku knows that he's a Democrat. So they will agree among themselves how they want it to go. And I pray that the right person will win, and all of us will rally around whosoever wins that election or selection. But it cannot be by force. Democracy can never be by force.
But is there a guarantee? I mean, we had a member of the ADC, the National Working Committee, telling us that the constitution of the party, I mean, seeing that the People's Democratic Party had a constitution, still has a constitution, but it looks like that constitution is now the bane of the party in itself. Wouldn't that be another situation for ADC? Chief Momodu? Oh boy. Oh, well, it looks like we lost Chief Momodu there. That question, would have wanted him to weigh in on that question as regards the role of the Constitution. But we had Chief Dele Momodu, politician and chairman of Asian Media Group, here with us on the 6th edition. But let's move on to other matters now, still in the political space. Okay, I understand he's back. Chief Momodu, if you could just answer this question. I was saying the thing about Constitution. You've said that the ADC is okay and all the players will work it out. Seeing that the constitution of the PDP is actually the bane of the PDP right now, what's the guarantee? After one of your people told us that they have a solid constitution, a rock solid constitution, what's the guarantee that that constitution will help?
There is nothing wrong with ADC as it is. The only thing that can go wrong is the desperation of the ruling party that does not want competition. But I know that ADC is doing everything humanly possible to frustrate the attempts to ensure that no one contests against President Tinubu. There will be a contest, and the contest will be very robust. It will be at the highest level, and I am very certain that it is defeatable. Because Nigerians are very frustrated today. We have a country where a lot has gone wrong, where for 2 weeks we had a foreign army on our soil, and the president has not uttered one word. It's unbelievable.
All right, thank you very much. Chief Dele Momodu is a politician and chairman of Asian Media Group. Thank you for coming in this evening. And we do wish you well, you and your family.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.
All right, moving on to other stories and staying in the political space, the Social Democratic Party, along with Senate representatives and officials of the Nasarawa state government, has received the remains of the Senator Godiya Akwashiki, a member of the 10th National Assembly who died after months of illness. Speaking at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja, a former SDP presidential candidate Adewale Adebayo said the senator, who represented Nasarawa North, will be deeply missed. Former Nasarawa State Governor Tanko Al-Makura described Akwashiki as an outstanding politician who served the state and his people well.
He was a great man. He was a man who the constituency had full confidence in, and many of his colleagues, including the Right Honorable Gaza here, and the former Governor Makura, many people from all walks of life have been testifying. But the more important thing is how the people of his district feel. It's a great loss, I can tell you that.
I have lost a friend. I have lost a political son. I have lost a political friend and associate that his replacement will not be easy to have.
We're in pain, more especially the Egon people, serious pain. Was a performing senator. He has performed excellently well, more than any other person can think of.
On to education, the federal government has announced new measures to curb examination malpractice in the 2026 WAEC and NECO examinations. According to a statement from the Federal Ministry of Education, the reforms include enhanced question randomization, strict enforcement of the ban on candidate transfers at SS3 level, and standardized continuous assessment submission timelines nationwide. The ministry also introduced a unique examination learner's identity number to improve candidate tracking, monitoring, and accountability throughout the examination process. Submission deadlines for continuous assessment scores have been fixed for January, April, and August for the first, second, and third terms in that order. The Education Ministry assures stakeholders that the measures will strengthen credibility, transparency, and ethical standards in Nigeria's examination system. Now, since 2015, educational authorities have introduced a series of reforms aimed at tackling examination malpractice across the country. In 2015, the Joint Admissions and Matriculations Board fully migrated the UTME to computer-based testing. This move virtually eliminated question paper leakage and reduced manual result manipulation. By 2017, biometric enrollment became mandatory. Fingerprint and facial recognition systems led to a reported 96% drop in impersonation cases. In 2021, live CCTV monitoring was introduced, allowing exam bodies to observe centers remotely. While effective in deterring collusion, the system faced challenges in areas with unstable power supply. In 2023, over 40 schools were blacklisted for aiding mass cheating, forcing stricter compliance. Further reforms followed in 2024 and 2025, including an SS3 transfer ban and question randomization, making organized cheating increasingly very difficult. And let's hope that this will work out this time. We'll take another break, and when we'll come back, we'll be looking at what the Plateau State government, or rather looking at business and the world outside Nigeria. To join us. Welcome back. Nigeria has launched a new fiscal era with the 2026 tax reforms. The laws replaced outdated, fragmented systems with a fairer, simpler framework designed to boost growth. Now, to protect the vulnerable, the value-added tax, as VAT, is now removed from food, healthcare, and education. Nigeria's corporate tax is now 25%, making it rate more competitive than regional peers like Kenya, Ghana, and South Africa. According to Taiwo Yedele, chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy, small businesses with turnovers under 100 million naira are now exempt from major taxes. The reform, they say, promotes transparency by digitizing revenue collection and tracking. Now, let's take a quick journey through Nigeria's tax reforms from 2015 to 2025, from the era of amnesty and stability through yearly Finance Act adjustment to the landmark Nigerian Tax Act of 2025. This evolution shows how Nigeria moved from revenue recovery to modernization, consolidation, and taxpayer relief. Let's begin. The era of amnesty and stability. In 2017, that's the VAGE program, the Voluntary Assets and Income Declaration Scheme, a one-year amnesty window for taxpayers to declare previously hidden assets and settle back taxes without penalties. Now, the Finance Act era, annual updates from 2019, the Finance Act of 2019 increased VAT from 5% to 7.5%, introduced a 0% corporate tax for small businesses. Then there was the Finance Act of 2020, establishing a significant economic presence to tax foreign tech giants like Netflix, Google, etc. Now, within that period, there was also the COVID relief, which also provided various tax incentives to cushion the pandemic's impact. There was another Finance Act in 2021 introducing the electronic money transfer levy of 15 naira on bank transfers. This imposed capital gains tax on digital assets. In 2022, the Finance Act of 2022 raised tertiary education tax from 2.5% to 3% and introduced a sugar tax, excise duty on non-alcoholic carbonated drinks. In 2023, the Finance Act adjusted rates on luxury goods and clarified rules for petroleum profit taxes. Now, the landmark overhaul, the Nigerian Tax Act, signed in June 2025, effective from January 2026, repealed 50-plus fragmented laws, merged them into one unified code, replaced the FIRS with the Nigeria Revenue Service as the NRS, and then created an 800,000 naira tax-free threshold for individuals, raised the tax-exempt turnover threshold to 50 million naira for small and medium enterprises, and then consolidated various small levies, as the police, IT, SANS, into a single 4% development levy. plenty of grammar, some might say. But now I'm being joined by Arms-Free Ajanaku, a development expert. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Arms-Free, this new tax law, and it didn't come to you as a surprise.
Yes.
So how has it been? What reactions have you gotten from Nigerians out there?
Yeah, so first of all, I'm going to speak as a civil society activist, and then as a citizen who has seen the groundswell of lack of trust and, the kind of pushback that we have seen, notwithstanding the very well-intentioned provisions of the law. And of course, there are fundamental questions being asked about, is taxation an end in itself? In fact, I heard somebody say, paying your taxes is one of your civic responsibilities. But citizens are asking the question basically, when we fulfill the civic responsibility, what do we get back in terms of what the government does for us? And have we not been paying taxes before now? Have we not been paying a lot of charges and making financial contributions, which can, in a sense, be equivalent to taxes? If my community does not have security and I have to contribute to buy a gun, to protect for the vigilantes to protect my community, is that not some form of tax already? If the healthcare system is collapsing and I have to patronize private hospital, if the educational system is nosediving and I have to take my kids to private school, am I not already paying taxes? So these are the fundamental questions around the pushback of citizens. So we as civil society people, we are not falling for the tyranny of the technocracy of the tax discussion, what you call the grammar earlier on. We are rather asking much more substantial questions around the legitimacy, because now we are moving from the question of legality to the question of legitimacy. Yes, a law has been passed and all of that, but the pushback you are seeing is the fundamental question around accountability. It's also the fundamental question around transparency. How transparent is the process where there are, there's been back and forth, between the National Assembly about the version of the tax law it passed and all of it. So those are the questions that citizens are asking and they are demanding answers to.
Okay, so I would have thought that, civil society, first of all, would be excited that, look, for the first time in a very long time, 50 plus laws have been done away with. Tax laws, multiple taxations now out the window. And then you're sure that this is the document that you, as an individual, can take that document and go to court and say, this is what the law says. What do you have to say? I thought that would be some level of excitement with that.
Yes. So given the complexity of where we are coming from, and if you look at a tax like VAT, for example, we saw the humongous amounts that the government collected in the recent past, even before this tax reform came on board, and how those monies were distributed to the different tiers of governments. The local governments, for example, got very healthy sums of money. We saw monies moving around, but we did not see a corresponding improvement. And that is why I said we welcome the very well-intentioned aspects of this tax reform. But given where we are coming from, what we are contending with is a trust deficit. And you do not address trust deficit by waving the fine print in the face of people. You have also a responsibility to now tell the people that there is accountability mechanism, there are safeguards, you will be protected, and all of that. So a lot more explanation. And what I would say is that so far, in terms of how the government is communicating this, there have been mixed signals, and the people are receiving those mixed signals and are, and like, this may not really be the intention of the government. So you do not address the trust deficit by telling me that, 50 tax laws have been consolidated. I am looking at how does this affect my bottom line as a business. And so if you say, for example, that people below the threshold of 800,000 naira per annum, or who are earning within that range, will not be taxed. And yet, in the same breath, you are saying you are also trying to bring the informal sector into the tax net. The informal sector are the people earning. So there have been a lot of mixed signals. That is why we will not just join the choir and start clapping for this, just without asking real fundamental questions. So, in a nutshell, we welcome tax reform. We welcome the consolidation. Those are good things. But when it comes to the implementation of these laws, are we going to see a situation in which the vulnerable is protected? And much more importantly, are we also going to see a situation in which I play my civic role, I mobilize citizens to play their civic roles, and then this translates into social benefits for the people? Because if this does not translate to social benefits, then it's business as usual.
That's why the elections are there, so that if you elect someone into office, the person does not use your money well, you go to the next election and don't vote the person in. But would that be the situation here?
Yeah, yes. So there are two layers of this, and
if you can make it real quick.
Yes. I think this is a very important point you've raised. There is the layer of democratic accountability, which you have talked about, which is a brilliant structure that civil society is applying to push this. But there's the layer of financial accountability in a country where the Auditor General's reports in many instances can be ignored, in a country where many local governments don't have budgets. So when the people are pushing back, you should understand where they are coming from.
All right, thank you so much. We had Sri Ajanaku, a development expert and a civil society activist. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. My privilege to be here.
Provisional results from the Electoral Authority show President Faustin Archange Touadéra has been re-elected in the Central African Republic. Touadéra won more than 76% of the votes in the December 28 election, securing a third term after last year's constitutional changes. Voter turnout was about 52%. His main challenger, Anicet Georges Dologele, came second with 15%, while Henry Marie Dondra came third. Some opposition groups boycotted the vote, alleging irregularities and calling for its annulment, claims Touadéra's camp has rejected. African Union observers described the process as largely peaceful. Final results are expected in mid-January. The polls also included parliamentary and local elections.
L'élection présidentielle du 28 décembre 2025 sont publiées ainsi qu'il suit, tel que présenté par le document ci annoncé. Article 2. Conformément aux dispositions de l'article 117 du Code électoral, Monsieur Faustin Archange Touadéra, ayant recueilli la majorité absolue des suffrages valablement exprimés au premier tour de l'élection présidentielle du 28 décembre 2025, avec 894 556 voix, soit 76,15%, est déclaré élu.
Tout le monde sait que je mène ici une politique de main tendue. Notre pays a trop souffert et notre pays a besoin de tous ses fils qui se mettent ensemble pour qu'on puisse construire le pays. Et voyez-vous, j'ai tendu la main aux groupes armés, je continue de le faire et la paix revient.
In North Africa, a Tunisian court has freed several NGO workers as non-governmental organization workers accused of helping migrants enter and remain in the country without proper documentation after handing them suspended sentences. Among those released is Sherifa Riahi, former head of the French charity Terre d'Asile, who had spent more than 20 months in detention. Lawyers said the defendants were carrying out humanitarian work under a state-approved program with other charges already dropped. On the final day of the trial, supporters gathered outside the courthouse as the hearings lasted into the night. The UN Special Rapporteur for Human Rights Defenders, Mary Lolo, had urged authorities to release Riahi, calling the case dubious. The ruling comes amid intense debate over migration in Tunisia, a key transit route to Europe. The United States is increasing its strategic focus on Greenland because of what it calls defense needs, economic interest, and emerging Arctic trade routes. First, national defense. Greenland hosts the Pitufik Space Base, formerly the Thule Air Base, which runs a 24-hour missile warning radar. The island also sits along the GIUK Gap, a key corridor for tracking naval movement between the Arctic and the Atlantic. Second, economic security. Greenland has major rare earth mineral deposits used in electric vehicles, smartphones, and wind turbines. The U.S. sees these as a way to reduce reliance on China's supply chain. Finally, a new trade route. Melting Arctic ice is opening shorter shipping paths. In response, the U.S. has reopened a consulate in Nuuk to strengthen ties and keep watch on regional activity. To understand Greenland's strategic importance, it's also important to look at its geography, politics, and people. Geographically, Greenland is the world's largest island, covering more than 2.1 million square kilometers, about 3 times the size of Texas. Roughly 80% of the island is covered by the Greenland ice sheet. If it were to melt completely, global sea levels would rise by more than 7 meters. Greenland's climate ranges from Arctic to subarctic, with winter temperatures in Nuuk around -8 degrees Celsius and summer highs near 7 degrees. Politically, Greenland is a self-governing territory within the Kingdom of Denmark. While it manages its internal affairs, Denmark remains responsible for defense and foreign policy. The capital city is Nuuk. Greenland has a population of about 56,000 people, primarily Inuit. The economy depends heavily on fishing, government subsidies, natural resources, and a growing tourism sector. On to one of our top stories. Gunfire and explosions were reported near Venezuela's presidential palace in Caracas, that's according to local media and unverified social media footage. Videos online showed armed men, military convoys, and security forces deployed around Miraflores Palace, with residents seen taking cover. Local outlets said the shooting happened around 8 p.m. after reports of unidentified drones flying over the palace, though authorities had yet to brief the public. There were no immediate reports of injuries or deaths, and no official word on damage or arrests. In the meantime, Cubans, already struggling with economic hardship, now face fresh fears following the removal of Venezuela's leader Nicolás Maduro. The concerns come after American forces seized Maduro in a pre-dawn operation, a move that has shaken the region. Venezuela is Cuba's closest ideological ally and its main supplier of oil, a lifeline that keeps electricity running and transport moving on the island. U.S. President Donald Trump has since warned that other leftist governments in the region and said that Cuba could face serious difficulties without Venezuelan oil.
Deducción lógica. Si Venezuela es el principal suministrador por lo menos de petróleo, ¿no? Se va a poner un poco complicado. Pero nosotros siempre hemos estado complicados. El cubano a pie, ¿qué va a decir? Más problemas, hay que seguir viviendo, hay que seguir trabajando, hay que seguir luchando de donde nos toque.
La realidad es que eso fue una flagrante violación al derecho internacional. Fue el secuestro de un presidente, la violación a su inmunidad. Y bueno, en medio de todo esto, la pérdida de compatriotas es triste y es dolorosa.
El señor ahora entre Trump y Marco Rubio siempre ha sido la economía del país, el bloqueo que tenemos hace no sé cuántos años, más de 60 años. Entonces, ellos...
Well, protesters demonstrated in front of the United States consulate in Sao Paulo on Tuesday to oppose President Trump's foreign policies and Venezuela action. The protest drew activists from political movements, student groups, and labor organizations expressing solidarity with Venezuela. Participants carried banners, waved flags, and marched along nearby streets while security forces monitored the gathering. The demonstration reflected growing regional criticisms of Washington's approach towards Venezuela and wider concerns over stability in Latin America.
Estava livre, está livre, o demônio é falso, porque vai substituir uma ditadura, entre aspas, por uma ditadura pior ainda do imperialismo, né? Que agora
está nisso, ele não pode achar que ele é o imperador. Por isso que eu vim para a rua. Para o mundo ficou nítido que o cara ele se acha.
And that's it on the 6th edition for today. Here's a recap of our major stories. We told you that several were kidnapped as bandits raided communities in Katsina state. Also, that the African Union is extending multinational task force mandate across Nigeria and Cameroon. We also told you that the U.S. is eyeing Arctic defense, rare earth minerals, and emerging trade routes in Greenland. Let's hear from you. Send us your eyewitness report or news about happenings around you to the WhatsApp number showing on your screen. We'd like for you to follow us on social media. We are on all the social media platforms at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow. I'm Neota Igbe.